Hey everybody, we are here with Patrick O'Sullivan, former NHLer, and actually a author. Last night I was going through some facts on Google, and all that was coming up was the book. Did you think the book was going to get this popular?
I think it's been a little surprising in the U.S. as far as the reception and the amount of interest that it's had. I think, being in Canada, playing in Canada, I knew that it would probably do pretty decent there, but I think it certainly exceeded expectations that my publisher had and a lot of the other places that sell the book. So it's done really well, and at the end of the day, the more people that read about my story or hear the different interviews and everything else, that's really what I want at the end of the day, to try to get my message out and really try to help a number of different people.
Yeah. So is your book in the U.S. being sold at like Barnes and Noble and stores like that, or is it just on Amazon or?
Yeah, no. Originally, it was only online, and
right.
After the first month, they decided to put it in stores in the U.S. as well. So.
Right. Yeah. No.
It's done really. Yeah, it's done really well, and we've got a lot of national media attention, which is hard to do if you're involved with hockey in the U.S. So.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm doing a little bit of a documentary thing with ESPN.
Oh wow.
And potentially something with HBO too. So I think really what's happened is people have seen that it's not necessarily a hockey story. You could take hockey out of my life altogether and plug something else in, and you still have the same story. So I think that's really what people have recognized, and that's kind of what I told the various publishers when I was kind of shopping it around, was that it's not, it's a hockey story only because I played hockey, but
exactly.
The things that happen in my life are things that happen to people that play different sports, that are in music or education, really anything where you can have a parent kind of go down the wrong path with their kid.
Right. Was this book spurred on by your Players Tribune article, or was it just something that you've been working on for quite a while?
Well, when that Players Tribune article came out, that really, I think, kind of took everything to the next level, because it was well written,
right.
And it really, obviously, that website gets
it's a great website,
a lot of viewers and a lot of clicks, and people pay attention to it, and certainly in the U.S. it kind of really got everybody to take notice and to pay attention, and everything is kind of continued to build off of that. So it definitely helped.
So what really spurred you on to come out public with it and write the book and the article and all that?
Well, I just felt that somebody needed to do it, because there's a lot of situations that are very similar to mine. You just never really end up hearing about them, because the person involved doesn't typically get to the highest level of whatever they're doing. So if I was a lawyer or whatever, I had a normal job, I would never really be able to write the book, because it just wouldn't get enough attention. But because I played in the NHL, I knew that sharing my story would get the eyeballs and the attention of people, in hopes to kind of change the culture that exists in kids sports, and also kind of the mental health side in professional sports. So I was at the point in my life where I had significantly improved how I was doing on a personal level, and I just felt like it was the time to do it. If I didn't do it when I did, I don't know that I would ever have got to it in my life. And I just think it's an important story, because people that are victims in these situations are kids, and they don't have the ability to, share their experience, or it's just really, it's about awareness. There's not enough people that realize that this stuff goes on, and there's not enough people that are willing to kind of do something about it to help these kids. And I think society has come a long way with that stuff, and about child abuse and how people from the outside view that. And I just think hockey in general kind of needs to catch up to that. So, that was really the motivation behind doing it.
So you brought up earlier that you were doing something with HBO and ESPN. Is that going to be, or possibly HBO, is that the ESPN one going to be like an E60 or just like a special?
I don't know exactly what title it's going to be under.
30
I don't know that it would be its own E60 or 30 for 30 or anything like that. But it's going to be about a 20 or 30 minute feature.
Oh.
I think they may play it during one of the Sports Center shows on either a Saturday or Sunday night.
Okay.
One of the ones that has a lot of viewers. And I've been working with them for I think 3 months now, and they actually followed me around in Edmonton for a couple days when I was up there. Yep. And they were here in Florida at my house for this past weekend, and we're actually going to go up and check out kind of where I grew up in Detroit, and take a look at my house and some of the arenas that I played at and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. And like I said already, it's the more people that find out about it, it just increases the odds of people becoming more aware of these situations and hoping to prevent them, because that's really the goal. The way everything is set up now, trying to treat people that grew up the way I did as adults, you have a very low success rate because it's just too difficult to do. It's too expensive, too time consuming to get that stuff done. So the prevent it is really that is really the way that you can change people's lives moving forward. And it's just the biggest thing is having people understand that when you grow up the way I did, you're going to have problems for the rest of your life, and it's just a matter of how can you manage those? They don't go away.
Yeah.
It's a situation that is, like I said, a lifelong sentence, and you don't want to have that. You want to have people understand that it exists and try to prevent it, and the people around the kids that aren't their parents need to be able to step in and notify the police or social services so that you can get the kid out of the situation.
Yeah, exactly. Moving on from the book, as you brought up, you are in Florida. You live in Naples. Am I correct there?
Yeah, I do. I live here in South Florida, and it's obviously a nice place to live with the weather and everything else. We're kind of considering actually maybe moving back up north somewhere. So.
Oh, really?
I can kind of work in hockey a little bit easier, and I've been asked to do some different media stuff and things like that. And it's better for my wife too, as far as the work that she wants to do. And so we're kind of looking at that right now. So the last year and a half been really busy for a number of different ways, but it's all been good stuff, and it's been an exciting time getting to get my story out there, and kind of for me get back involved with hockey, because I really kind of took myself out of certainly the public eye, but also kind of tried to get away from the game, because there was a lot of things that I struggled with regarding hockey. But it's kind of been a nice way to reintroduce myself, I guess, to not only to the game but to everybody else. Yeah.
Well, with that being said, you one of your former teammates threw out a tweet. Ryan Whitney said that as he was coming to Naples, You know you land in Naples when there's a combined 9 walkers and wheelchairs waiting outside the plane door. And Naples is hashtag God's waiting room. What did you feel about that one?
Well, he's not wrong. I mean, there's certainly a lot of older people here that are, they come here and you know, they retire, and, you know, that is really kind of the population base down here. So as you can imagine, it's not ideal for families, but there are certainly, you know, young people that have kids and everything else. It's just there's not as many, and it's an interesting place to live. It's obviously, like we just talked about, the demographic is not typical, and you know, you're kind of sheltered in a lot of ways here, and that's also a reason I don't know that I'd really want my kids to grow up their whole lives here and go to school here and everything else. But, there's one thing that I don't have a hard time being able to play golf 12 months a year. So there's a lot of good things about living here at the same time.
Yeah. So what have you been up to since you aren't playing hockey? I mean, you've had this book. You said that you're having a few specials, things like that. What else have you been up to?
Well, I've really been most busy with the speaking engagements that I've had around Canada and the U.S. And you know, I really, to be honest, wasn't expecting the interest level to be, you know, as big as it has been, and it's kind of caught me off guard, and I've been a little bit overwhelmed with the amount of kind of communication and correspondence I've needed to do with a number of different people. So I've tried to find somebody that can help me do that a little bit and have things run a little bit more efficiently and not have to do everything myself, because it's hard to do a number of different things I got to do every day on top of making sure that I get back to the people that are interested in having me speak, and being able to prepare for that stuff too. So it's like I said, I wasn't expecting there to be as much interest as there has been, and that's created a little bit of difficulties. But those are all good problems to have, and it's something that I think, you know, if I was to relocate a little bit, it would be easier for me to travel to a lot of different places and be closer to where you know, hockey is popular and really, you know, kind of where I need to be to kind of get back into hockey from every angle. So it's been good. It's been busy, and it's actually been a lot of fun. I really enjoy talking to parents, kids, coaches.
Right.
I feel like it's something that it needs to be done, and selfishly, it's therapeutic in a way, I think, for me to be able to talk in front of, you know, large groups of people and really see that, you know, one way or another, everybody there is influenced by what I'm saying, because we all know somebody who's either, you know, struggling currently with something similar, or you know, had experienced something similar in the past, or we all know somebody. So there's always a way that you can connect to what I typically talk about, and you know, that means that I'm actually making a difference, and that,
right, exactly.
That feels good. That was the goal originally with the book. So it's all been pretty good.
Sweet. Have you kept any constant connection with any previous teammates you've played with, or is it just
that's really all the connection I've had to the game, really, since I retired, was just kind of keeping in touch with guys I played with, and I played all over the place, so it's hard to keep track of everyone you play with, but there's certainly guys that, like anything else, you're closer with than others, and you know, my core group of friends, we played major junior together, and there's 3 or 4 of us that actually ended up playing in the NHL, and you know, so obviously I've kept in touch with those guys, and kind of followed, you know, how they've been doing. And I watch a lot of hockey on TV, so I'm always
Right.
aware of what's going on around the league and everything like that.
Right. How was it like playing for Steve Tambellini's Oilers in that like 09, 2010, around that year, right before they started getting first overall draft picks?
Well, to be honest, it was a disaster, and it's been a disaster there for at this point it's been a decade. So
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to be surprising for anybody to hear. I think finally they've got people in place on the management side that are going to be able to change some things that needed to be changed a long time ago. And I think you're going to see even a lot of current players they have that are good young players that need to move out of there because they've been exposed to so much losing that you simply can't have them all there and plan for that next 5 to 10 years with that same core group of guys. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
And they've got a good GM. Excuse me. They've got a good coach, and clearly they have a once in a decade player because they somehow are able to win the lottery every year. And I think if that happens again, there's going to have to be a rule change because you can't win it that many times in such a short period without there being a little bit of a different rule. You can't continue to reward futility on that level. So for me it was hard playing there. It was the support from the management was poor at best. It was really just an unorganized situation from top to bottom, and that reflected in the team's play. And it was no different for the number of years since then until I think this year finally. And their record's not any better, but certainly they finally have the right management and coaching staff in place where I think they can turn the page and try and get out of the basement and kind of give the fans in that city what they deserve. And it's certainly been hard, I think, for everybody that is a fan of that team.
Yeah.
Because of the history and the lack of recent success. I mean, it's got to be frustrating. I can't imagine it would be anything else.
Yeah, to say the least. We just have a few more questions for you here, Patrick. So kind of going back to your NHL days, and recently there was a kind of a report coming out about Alex Burrows. Was there any other NHL moments kind of similar to that, or is it kind of an unwritten rule to keep things like that out of the game? Because I know Burrows has had kind of a history. This season he was with TOTW and things like that. Was there anything really like that?
No, he's the only guy that ever said anything to me regarding my personal situation. And like you said, it's it's not surprising given what he said, to Tutu recently as well. So he's really the only guy in the league that will stoop to that level. And there's no one around the league that respects a guy like that. And that's just really the truth. And I don't know that he's a horrible person, but he certainly does and says things on the ice that don't belong in the game. And when you do that, people aren't going to like you. And there's a reason why everyone in the league hates the Canucks, and all the other fan bases hate the Canucks fan base.
Exactly.
It's because they have a reputation that's well earned, and it's obviously not 100% of them, but he's just a guy that nobody really respects. And I think for me I shared what I did because I don't respect him. And there's most things that are said on the ice do not they don't leave the ice. But when it's a situation like that where you want to talk about child abuse or homophobic comments, racist comments, anything like that, those deserve to be exposed because they don't belong in the game, and the only way you get them out of the game is by, exposing them and exposing the person who's doing it. And clearly there's no one else in the league that does that stuff. And, it's unfortunate that we even have to talk about it. But, I think he's a guy that lucked out early in his career. He got to play a couple years with the Sedins, and, I think he probably wouldn't be playing if that hadn't happened. So,
right.
Like I said, I don't know him on a personal level. I don't really think about the guy unless I'm asked a question about him. So
fair enough.
I don't really care about him, but he, certainly he doesn't respect the game and he doesn't respect the players. And when you do that, you're going to have people not like you. It's pretty simple.
Exactly.
All right, we just got one last question for you. This is something that we plan on asking everybody we interview. But if you were stuck on an island, and you had to choose 4 people, but each of them had to be from each of the big 4 leagues, so one from the NHL, one from the NBA, one from the NFL, and one from the MLB. It could be like an executive or a player or even like a past player like Babe Ruth or something like that.
Who'd you pick?
Who'd you pick?
That's a good question. I think from the NHL, I would definitely bring Matt Green because he's a one-man comedy. So you're gonna need some entertainment, and he's by far the funniest guy that I ever played with.
Not surprised.
I think most guys, most guys that have played with him would say the same thing.
So that's one from the NHL.
I would probably bring Jose Bautista and
Sweet.
Have him
bat flipping everywhere.
Give him a compliment too about his behavior.
Oh, okay.
I don't like the way that he plays. I think a lot of people find him to be annoying, and with what he said in spring training, a few weeks ago about his contract, just stuff like that you don't need to do. And if you've ever watched him play live, and maybe even sometimes on TV, he's constantly stretching in the outfield the entire game, and it's really distracting. It's one of those things where if you don't know about it, you don't really notice. But as soon as someone tells you about it, it's all you can see.
Wow.
So
it's true.
Yeah, he's a guy that would. I'd like to talk to him. Football. I don't know.
No, fair enough. That's fine. You could bring an extra NHL player if you'd like.
Yeah, no, I mean, probably...
Would you bring, like, Peyton Manning?
I don't know. I'll say it this way. It certainly wouldn't be Tom Brady or anybody on the team. I don't like that team at all. So
good pick.
We'll leave it there. The rest, anybody else in the league can come. And then basketball player, again, I guess Steph Curry. I mean, I think he's changed basketball in a way that Bobby Orr changed hockey. It's fascinating to watch. I love how uncomfortable he makes all the traditionalist people in the media, even ex-players that say, the three-point shot's a gimmick and all that stuff. He's revolutionized the game, and I think he's an interesting guy, and I love how he's kind of taken LeBron's thunder away from him, and he's another guy that bothers me a lot in his behavior on the court and in the media and the self-promotion stuff. JJ Watt's another guy too that is just, it's so cheesy that it's just too much for me to handle. And I recently got Twitter for my book, and I had never been on social media before that, and that's the one thing I noticed. It's not anything that I really like about it. It's just a lot of things that I don't like about it.
Fair enough.
I don't know what that means, but I know there's a lot of people that feel the same way I do. So, yeah, that's my take on your question.
Yeah, perfect.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Patrick. We really do appreciate it. Thanks for listening, guys. As we said, Patrick O'Sullivan, former NHLer. Follow him on Twitter at RealPOSullivan. And thanks for listening.